Hey everyone, and welcome back to my completionist playthrough of Diablo 2 on Hardcore. And here we are in Act 5. Having gone through Tyrael's portal, we arrived in the besieged barbarian city of Harrogath, setting the scene for the final chapter of our adventure. And as for Act 5, it's pretty robust and provides quite a lot of content, although normally it goes by fast, because large parts of it are totally skippable, but of course in our playthrough we're going to explore everything it has to offer. And for the last time on normal, we're going to begin by talking to the townspeople, but of course if you'd like to skip right to the gameplay, there's a timestamp on the screen for that. So first, we are going to be greeted by Mala, and it is going to be a special greeting since we're playing a sorceress.
A sorceress here in Harrogath. There was a time, child, when I thought I was destined to follow your kind's path. However, my powers never developed beyond the simplest of spells. Although I can heal almost any wound with time and energy, there is little I can do to help against Baal. But enough of that. I spend too much time in reflection and have forgotten my manners. I, Mala, welcome you to Harrogath, the last stronghold of order on Mount Ariat. You have come to the right place if you intend to defeat Baal, the Lord of Destruction. Baal has laid waste to our mountain and its denizens. His minions continue to attack our town, while PlugY and his men have proven helpless to stop them. Baal is still out on the mountain looking for something, but I know not what. All of the elders, save Nilathak, sacrificed themselves to place a protective ward around Harrogath. Some of us here, certainly Nilathak, do not appreciate your presence. We are a proud people, and it is not easy for us to accept aid. I, however, am glad you are here. If you need healing or a potion, please come to me. See Larzuk for weapons, armor, and repairs. Nilathak, despite his disposition, may be of some assistance with other wares. Finally, PlugY, our man-at-arms, leads Harrogath's remaining forces against Baal.
So yeah, she says she welcomes us and wants us to succeed, but look at this. The prices here in Harrogath are going to be doubled until we are done with the first quest here. So we are going to teach them a lesson in commerce a little bit later. But first let's talk to Deckard Cain.
I am amazed to find this place so untouched. Everything else in the path of Baal, the Lord of Destruction, lies in ruin. These barbarians must indeed be the legendary guardians of Mount Ariat. They are a proud, hardy people. Don't expect to be greeted warmly. Strangers here rarely are. Perhaps I can gain their trust. I'll spend some time with the townsfolk and try to understand them better. I'll let you know what I discover.
It's very nice. Deckard Cain is going to be our man on the inside, our little spy, trying to gain some insight about the barbarians. Anyway, now it is time for PlugY. He was mentioned, although not very pleasantly by Mala. Apparently he is useless as the leader of the defensive forces of Harrogath.
I am PlugY, the senior man-at-arms of Harrogath. You have the look of a warrior. An extra soldier will be useful, but don't expect anyone to mourn if you get yourself killed. Baal is true to his namesake. He has ravaged through our lands like a merciless plague. The protective ward laid down by our lost elders helps hold the evil at bay. But Baal's siege has taken its toll all the same. Most of my men are now dead. Others are trapped in the mountain passes. But I swear we are not beaten yet. We will fight to the end to protect this mountain.
So yeah, pretty likable fellow, and you can normally recruit some mercenaries from him, but not yet. We are going to have to complete the second quest in order to unlock that option. Here's Nilathak, the mentioned last elder, the only one who didn't sacrifice himself, like all the rest, to create this protective ward against Harrogath.
Well, well, the siege has everything in short supply, except fools. Why would you seek this place, stranger? Are you a vulture come to loot the bodies of our fallen warriors? Regardless, this is no place to make a name for yourself. The mountain is ours to protect. It's only a matter of time before Hell's legions are routed.
So yeah, he stands out a little bit when it comes to his attitude among the other townspeople. And he is an interesting fellow, that in some of his gossips he mentions that the barbarians are not fighting Baal properly, but he might have found a solution to their dire situation. We'll learn more about that later. And finally, we only have Larzuk to talk to, and we're going to receive our first quest here from him.
If you're here to defeat Baal, you must prove it. As we speak, Harrogath is under siege by Baal's demons. Catapults rain death just outside the town walls. Baal himself travels up the sacred mountain, having left in charge here one of his most vicious generals, Shank, the Overseer. A ruthless taskmaster, he lashes his own minions into suicidal frenzies on the battlefield. If you wish to prove yourself to us, destroy the monster Shank that commands those infernal catapults outside Harrogath. If you manage to do this, return to me.
Right, so here's our first quest, to break the siege of Harrogath by killing Shanku, the Overseer. And let's also allow him to introduce himself.
I am Larzuk, the Armorer. My ancestors were some of the finest craftsmen in Harrogath. Regretfully, my supplies run lower with every passing day, yet the demons beyond the walls have not weakened. I fear the time is near when I must put down my hammer and take up a sword instead.
Anyway, before we set out to help them, as a dissatisfied customer, I am going to take my business elsewhere. And teach them a lesson about competition on the free market. See, if you charge too high, or prices that are too high, we are going to get the same stuff, but cheaper somewhere else. Like from Jamela, a merchant that never wronged me in any way. She has normal prices, and now we are ready to begin our adventure in Act 5.
My magic will break the siege.
Alright, so here, again, this is a perfect area to kind of go with the teleporting trick, because we have to go to the top left. I'm not going to go all the way like that. I kind of like helping these barbarians here and killing these kind of squishy, juicy monsters of Baal. In general, I enjoy this act on normal the most, because on higher difficulties there's something called guest monsters that begin appearing on Nightmare and on Hell especially. And those guest monsters are basically just modified, upgraded, kind of more powerful types of other monsters from all of the previous acts that make kind of guest appearances here on these lands. Alright, here's our first super unique Dak Farron. Let's just kind of deal with him in the meantime. But anyway, these guest monsters, since they are of, you know, various types of monsters, kind of characteristic to the other acts, you know, it kind of makes this act lose a little bit of its character, a little bit of its flavor. But on normal, there aren't any guest monsters yet, so we can kind of focus on fighting the forces of Baal specifically, not any of these other monsters. And we've also been able to see some of those catapults that Larzuk mentioned. Yeah, well, let's help this barb. And sometimes these catapults, like, indeed fire their projectiles, like these poison clouds here. And that's one of them. You can actually rescue quite a few barbs sometimes. You can have a couple of them fighting the monsters and then have a little force of yours. Have a little party assembled. But we're not going to wait that much for them. But yeah, when it comes to those guest monsters, like, I do understand that the developers wanted to provide some variety, I guess, when it comes to monsters in Act 5 on higher difficulties, that, you know, you might frequent Act 5 a little bit more to, like, farm different things, but I understand that kind of variety in the Worldstone Keep, for example, but not really that much when it comes to other locations, because, of course, when it comes to farming on Hell, all acts have something to offer. There's always something interesting to you know, to visit, and plenty of stuff to do in the other acts too. There are level 85 areas in every act. And it's not like, you know, in the end game you just sit in Act 5 all the time. You don't. So I'm not really sure about that move. But anyway, let's kind of get moving. Now we've had some fun with these guys. Let's try to find Shank finally. Right, here it is. Shank the Overseer. And there we go.
Harrogath can rest easier now.
Alright, so the first quest is done, and here's always the waypoint that we can take to go back and talk to Larzuk.
You're an even greater warrior than I expected. Sorry for underestimating you. As a token of my appreciation, I will craft sockets into an item of your choosing. And from now on, you'll get the best price for all my wares.
Yeah, not only his wares, but of course all of the shops here are now going to have the normal prices. We already have the other quest because we have stepped into the next area, but we are going to get the official start of it from Quelkek in a moment. But here, this one is not going to be grayed out because we still have this reward to receive from Larzuk, and that is the ability to add sockets to an item. So either when it's a magical or rare or unique or set item, he is going to add a socket to it if it doesn't have any sockets of its own. Or if we bring him a non-magical item, he is going to make this item get the maximum amount of sockets that it can get. So this is a very, very precious reward that we are going to use for very specific items as we go on. We're going to save up these rewards, although this first one from normal we're probably going to use on a crystal sword or a broadsword of the appropriate item level that can spawn 4 open sockets. Unless we get lucky in our farming session, we're going to do it on cows, if you're familiar with the game. Sometimes, you know, you might get lucky and you might get a broadsword or a crystal swords with 4 open sockets there already. But in most cases, we're just going to take a normal sword of those types and just bring it to Larzuk so that we can have 4 sockets. That way. Anyway, now when we talk to Quelkek, he is going to have the second quest for us.
My concerns have turned to my men taken prisoner on the battlefield by Bale's demons. I hate to think what's happened to them. As you journey up the mountain, keep your eyes open for my soldiers and bring them back to me if you can.
Alright, so now our quest is going to involve finding the trapped barbarians in the Frigid Highlands. Anyway, first we're going to kill Eldritch the Rectifier over there. He is a very notable guy because he is always near here, near the waypoint. He's pretty good for farming experience or items because he always drops 2 things. Now these little demon rascals, they can be extremely annoying for melee characters. Fortunately not so much for ranged characters like us. And because they don't have a lot of health, but they can teleport around and just
Impossible.
just be a great annoyance. Alright, now here, since these stairs are facing the top right, this gives us the idea of where we need to go. This area can either continue to the top left or it can turn to the top right, and you can get the idea of where you need to go from stairs like these ones or these kind of bridges to the side areas. And there's going to be a couple of side areas in these mountainy areas. Well, let's not say areas once again, but mountainy lands or or whatever. Here it's like Pit of Acheron or Abaddon, one of these. Of course we're going to visit all of these side areas on Nightmare, but of course I am going to point your attention to it if we pass by one of those. Alright, and here we have the first camp of the barbarians. There's going to be 3 of them. And you have to actually, after destroying the gate, you have to wait for the portal to appear. Because if you just destroy the gate and start teleporting immediately, they are going to be stuck here. And the quest is not going to be able to progress unless you come back and actually watch them go through that town portal. And alright, here's another one of these camps. I'm also trying to spot a super unique that should be close to one of these prisons of theirs, called Sharptooth Slayer. Alright, there he is. Alright, there we go. Let us out! By the way, isn't it pretty funny having these barbarians in this like stick prison? Alright, there you go, guys. And after the third camp, here I'm going to try to clear out the monsters, because the Sorceress is going to have a very simple line saying "follow me" once we free the last group, but I wanted that to be kind of audible, as always, you know, just trying to get all of these speeches of the Sorceress or anyone else to showcase it in this playthrough. Alright, one moment, guys. But yeah, in general, can't we just talk about how these, like, athletic, muscular, hardened barbarians who can probably snap a man's neck with one hand can't force their way through this makeshift barricade of some sticks loosely cobbled together to free themselves? Or don't you guys have leap to jump over this massive obstacle?
Follow me.
Right, there it is. So now that we have rescued all of them, and we need to replenish our supplies anyway, we're going to return to Quol Kek and kind of advance the story a little bit.
Evening. Thank you for rescuing my men. They have spoken well of your bravery in battle. Perhaps there is hope for us after all. If you wish, you may hire some of my mercenaries that you saved. And please, take this set of runes. I had been saving them for a socketed shield, but I think you'll make better use of them. Be sure to set them in the right order for their fullest effect.
And this always annoyed me. He gives you 3 runes, Ralort and Tal, which are supposed to kind of be placed in that kind of order, to create a rune word in a shield. And he says something about the right order, but he doesn't say it, you know, plainly, like what kind of order that is. And sometimes, since the runes fall in this order, if... although, do they? It was Ort that fell out of it, right? Because I think some sources stated that, you know, you can figure out the right order for this rune word, which is Ral, Ort, Tal, by the way how they land in your inventory. But even if they did, and they don't seem like they were, even if they did fall into your inventory in that kind of order, your inventory is in most cases cluttered anyway, so they wouldn't exactly fall in a nice order that you would be able to figure something out of. It's only if you had like an empty or a near empty inventory that maybe you would be able to get the idea for what this order is supposed to be. But anyway, now since that quest is completed, oh yeah, by the way, of course Quol Kek mentioned that we would be able to hire some of his barbarians, and that is indeed the case. This is kind of a pretty cool, pretty decent mercenary that if you equip them well, they can do pretty decent physical damage and keep themselves alive pretty well, but they don't have any additional utility. They only have the bash and stun abilities of a barbarian, and I always wondered, why not some war cries? You know, like, I do understand that probably giving them like battle command, the shout that increases your, like, gives you plus skills would be too powerful. But, you know, if they had like a low-level battle orders, the shout that increases your life and mana, or the war cry called Shout, which increases your defense, they at least would be able to be grouped into a couple of different types, like the other mercenaries, and would be able to provide some utility, you know, to maybe compete a little bit with the Act 2 mercenary. But unfortunately, there is no such thing. Anyway. Well, let's talk to Mala, and she is going to give us our next quest.
There is a matter which I hesitate to share, but I believe you are the only one who can help me now. Anya, the young alchemist and daughter to one of our slain elders, has been missing for some time. She is a strong, crafty woman with a spirit like no other. One night, just before your arrival, I overheard her and Nilathak arguing about her father's death. The next morning, she was gone. Nilathak has his own tale as to where she went and why. Don't believe him. I fear he's at the root of her disappearance. Please, if you can, search for Anya and bring her back to us. She'll know what to do about Nilathak.
Alright, since we have met Nilathak, we are going to be able to talk to him for now, when he is still in the camp. Of course, the Barb rescue quest has been completed, and now we need to look for Anya in some icy caverns. But let's first ask Nilathak about what he thinks about this whole issue.
Anya? Who have you been talking to? Likely it was that meddling Mala. Well, I'll tell you what really happened. Anya came to me for guidance after receiving a vision that her mother and younger brother were trapped in the lands beyond the ice caves. She had decided to go rescue them. I told her that her quest was a foolish one and that she would be safer staying within the city walls. However, she is a willful girl and would not listen to me. The next morning she was gone. No one is more distraught than I over losing her. However, if you feel the need to be Mala's errand child, I won't try to stop you.
Yeah, sounds very believable. Anyway, since now we have the proper runes, and we have the 35 strength to equip this large shield, we are going to create the Ancient's Pledge rune word that PlugY provided us the runes for. So like I said, it's Ral, Ort, Tal. Boom! Almost 50 resistances to 3 elements, and cold is lagging behind a little bit. There's also this 10% damage taken goes to mana attribute, and it doesn't mean that the damage is reduced somehow or diverted into your mana. It just means that as we receive damage, we are going to be given some mana on account of that. Unfortunately, this mana given by this property is counted before mana burn, so you know, it's not a saving mechanism if you get all of your mana burnt by an attacking monster. Anyway, now we can equip that, and likely we can get rid of these. By the way, we're going to sell this shield. It's not going to be needed, but we can probably get rid of these resistance charms for now. Yeah, our resistances are maxed out, except lightning, which we are going to be able to max out a little bit later. Also, as you might have noticed, I have tidied up our stash a little bit and moved some stuff like the smaller gems. This row is for rubies, or basically 2 rows each. Then we have the larger gems, the flawless and perfect ones, on a separate page. Here's our stash of juvies, rejuve potions. And yeah, now I'm going to start collecting a lot more of the stuff we get. I'm not going to just keep selling them. Our financial situation is you know, very good for now. And now it is going to be much more beneficial to actually collect like some smaller gems and even trash rings and amulets for different Horadric Cube recipes to use later. Anyway, now that we are done with all this, let us proceed. And now there is nothing else left to do here in this area but to move on to the next one. And at the border of the Ariat Plateau, there's another super unique Ibak the Unleashed over there. So let's get rid of him. and his buddies. Oh, let's just sort our stuff a little bit better. It's just a glaive. Alright, here's our next waypoint. Very nice. Can take that skill shrine and just go further to the top right. I kind of want to stop by and kill some of these monsters, but of course it is totally possible to just, you know, teleport all the way to the end like this. But there is some experience to be had here and some fun from killing these guys.
Not enough mana.
Okay, here's a special group of Ooze Froth the Mauler. Oh, and here we have the bridge to the Pit of Acheron. From these bridges, how they are oriented, you can also figure out whether you need to go to the top right or top left. Alright, here's another super unique Thresh Socket. Unfortunately I got hit by him, which was not planned, as he is always cursed, so now we have amplified damage on us. Fortunately, curses pass very quickly on normal, so we don't really need to be too concerned with it. But on like later difficulties, especially on Hell, I am going to make an effort to like go to town, to the town's healer, to get rid of curses as they appear. Anyway, here in the crystalline passage we need to identify the first tile. And I think, yeah, it is the one facing to the top right. And here there's very clear kind of directives on where to go for certain points of interest. But of course these caves can be kind of windy and complicated, so it's not always a matter of just, you know, going straight where you need to be. Sometimes it's going to be more convoluted than that. But generally we're going to have to go left from this tile, so to the top left, to reach the exit, the passage to the Glacial Trail. Now, going straight forward is going to bring us to the entrance to the Frozen River, where we need to go to search for Anya, and then going right is going to lead us to the waypoint. So let's secure that waypoint first, and then we're going to talk about our other objectives.
I need mana.
Alright, there we go. We have the Crystalline Passage waypoint, and actually, let's just make a quick trip back to town and get some more mana potions.
Good afternoon.
Actually, oh yeah, that actually was the waypoint, not the TP that we took here. This curse that we have here is applied by the succubi girls flying around. This one only reduces our defense, so it's not anything that's dangerous for a sorceress. But if we have more mana than life, they are capable of applying a blood mana curse, which is going to take life instead of mana as we try to cast our spells. So need to be mindful of that if you're in that kind of situation of having more mana than life. Alright, here's the Frozen River. There's a champion pack usually near it, but these, like Yetis and these icy guys, are very, very cold resistant. So, you know, with Blizzard and statics you can kill them, but especially when it comes to Yeti champions and uniques, I'm probably, well, it's going to be, in the best case, a waste of time, because they're going to take a long time to kill. Just, let's do this one demonstration here. Or, at the worst case, it's going to be very dangerous, because they do have that stun on hit, and they're not going to go down easily. Come on, you can do that. You can get that teleport off. Yeah, my mistake there was not having enough mana for the next teleport in time. Alright, and we are going to go to the Frozen River to complete that Anya quest. There's also a super unique here. I'm not going to waste time on these, you know, Yetis, the abominable snowmen there. Alright, here's our curse. It decreases our defense. These undead guys are a little bit different from monsters that generally get like killed and resurrected by their like shamans and whatnot. These guys can get up on their own. There's a chance that after they die, they can, after a little while, they can get back up. But then they are actually treated as a newly spawned monster that you're going to get experience for again. And they can again have a chance to drop new loot. Anyway, I'm going to keep my distance from them generally because they do have a nasty charge attack. Like this one. Yeah, of course it makes sense that, you know, in these icy caves there's quite a few monsters that have a lot of cold resistance. So this is going to definitely be like the toughest area in that regard from the ones we're going to visit. But later on it's going to get a little bit better. And at least we got a level and we can improve our blizzard and get a little bit more vitality. By the way, of course, these guys, they can sometimes explode in these icy shards like that, because when you use cold damage and cold spells that chill the monsters, sometimes you know, they can get frozen, and when they die in that frozen state, they are going to die permanently without leaving a corpse behind. All right, now our quest log updated because we are close enough to Anya, and there's going to be Frozenstein. Technically, it should be like Frozenstein's monster, I guess, and he is immune to cold because he is naturally cold resistant, and he has the cold enchanted property always. We are pretty lucky that we have this river. There's usually something to kind of use to your advantage, so that these guys, you know, for a cold sorceress like us, they are extremely dangerous with how tough they are to bring down. And of course, Frozenstein himself is immune to cold, so we're going to have to use our charge bolts. And I don't think I'm going to go close enough to static him, but yeah, just using this position, we're going to be able to spam our charge bolts, and he is going down slowly. Alright. It was actually not that bad. Sometimes you can get into, well, some pretty dangerous situations when it comes to Frozenstein. Okay, actually, we are going to go to town in a second anyway, and there's some valuable stuff to pick up, so we're going to get to that in a moment. Now, here Anya is kind of treated as an interactable object, so this is one person that we can actually telekinetically talk to.
Hero, Neelathak did this to me. If you've come to help me, my only hope lies with Mala. Please, tell her you've found me.
Alright.
So, that snake Neelathak was behind Anya's disappearance, and he trapped her with a freezing curse. Here, take this potion to Anya and give it to her. That should release her.
Alright, so Neelathak was behind all this, of course, and he is not present in town anymore. We got from Mala this potion to help Anya, and of course we got the set, the Tancred's set, you know, the military pick, which we are going to add to our collection.
How may I be of help?
Alright, at least some gold coming from that. Oh yeah, and I meant to get some more potions and scrolls anyway. Actually, set items are now kind of at the bottom and uniques are up there. Of course, this is going to extend into many, many pages as we go through the game, so this is just a kind of rudimentary setup that we have for now. And yeah, we can, I guess, transfer that potion to her telekinetically as well. Alright, so now she is safe, and we have some time to pick up some things here. Just drop 2 potions.
Thank you so much for bringing Anya back to us. I have devised this spell to increase your resistances as a token of my thanks. I know it isn't much, but I hope you find it helpful. Please, go talk to Anya. She has urgent news concerning Nilathok.
Alright, I just wanted to make some space for this amazing scroll that is going to permanently increase all of our resistances by 10. So by doing this on all 3 difficulties, we get 30 resistances to everything, kind of, you know, for free. So now we are maxed out in normal to everything, which is very, very nice. Okay, 25,000. We can keep it until Nightmare. In Nightmare, I think the max is 30,000, and then I think in Hell it's 35,000. So keeping items that sell for the max amount of gold isn't going to be like that much more beneficial than what we can get here, but still, of course, our financial situation is very nice, so we might as well just keep it until a little bit later. Whenever we need money, we're going to use it. So yeah, now Anya kind of replaces Nilathak as the gambling NPC, and she is going to have a lot to say, but normally you don't really talk to her here, because this whole subplot with Nilathak is entirely skippable under normal circumstances. Of course, in our case, we are going to have to, you know, complete the quest and, you know, the super uniques found in there and whatnot, but generally, if you're just playing normally, you can wait with talking to her until later, because as a reward for rescuing her, she is going to give us a rare class item, which for the Sorceress is an orb. And rare orbs have the potential of being really, really good, but this quest is based on our character level, so you can wait until you're higher level to have more chances to get, you know, good orbs. But since this is a completionist playthrough and we have to go through this whole subplot anyway, and also because we are going to get the spirit weapon kind of in Act 1 Nightmare, probably, so it's not that far off, and we still have that 1 orb with +1 to cold skills that is decent enough if we can find an FCR piece of jewelry. You know, we can just talk to her now and don't concern ourselves about being, you know, like min-maxing her reward. So let's listen to what she has to say after her harrowing experience.
You have proven yourself a true hero to me and my people. These are dark times, warrior. I hope you can bring an end to Baal's reign of destruction. Our Council of Elders is gone, my father Ost among them. The one thing that keeps us from total despair is the promise of vengeance against Baal. Thank you, hero, for rescuing me. To show my personal gratitude, I give you this. I had it custom made for you, by Larzik. Nilathak told me he struck a deal with Baal to protect Harrogath. In exchange for the demon's mercy, the misguided fool plans to give Baal the relic of the ancients, our most holy totem. Doing so will allow Baal to enter Mount Ariat unchallenged by the ancients. I tried to stop Nilathak, but he imprisoned me in that icy tomb. Nilathak must be stopped before he dooms the whole world. As much as I would love to strangle the life out of him, I'm afraid I haven't the strength. You must go to his lair through this portal I've opened, kill him, and then bring back the relic of the ancients. Stop Nilathak from destroying what we have striven for eons to protect.
Alright, the plot thickens. And now also comes the time for a moment of truth. Let's see. Oh, ye wench! Anya, how dare you give me this trash? Take it back. I don't even want to look at it. Anyway, here now, of course, we have the portal to Nilathak's temple, which opens up this whole subplot with the betrayal of Harrogath. And we are going to get to it, I guess, from the beginning of the next episode. For now, this is going to be an appropriate place to make a little pause. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Hope you're enjoying our endeavors in Act 5 so far. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.